Welcome back to Arkansas Bigfoot, everybody. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday. We spent most of ours exploring Oklahoma.
Yep.
That's going to be a story for another day.
It's a good visit.
But today, we're going to talk about something that you very rarely ever hear anyone mention in the Bigfoot community or talk about nonetheless, and that's the way that the Sasquatch interact or utilize or mingle with the other animals that are in their environment. And so that's something that we're going to explore today. But I wanted to show you what we found on the trail right behind the house coming out to the woods. And we've got an X with a Y right in the middle of the main path that we use. This wasn't here when we left last week to go to Oklahoma. So if you're not sure what the meaning of that is, go back to our last video and we explain all about it. Well, let's get on with the walk today and see what else we see, and we'll discuss some of the animal interaction. Kind of keep an eye out along this little creek here and see if we see any footprints in it. It's a little soft right now, so we might get lucky.
That would be nice.
You see across the bank right there. I'm going to zoom in on it from here. But you see those scuff marks going up the bank?
I do. When I see, let's try to see if I saw any over here.
Alright, so I guess we'll kick this off with their vocal cords. Everyone's familiar with infrasound, or most everybody is familiar with infrasound, and that's the low tones that are below human hearing capability.
Correct.
They make a low vibrational sound. Sometimes it can create anxiety or fear or stress, just a feeling of dread if that's what they want to produce. Other times it can put you in a catatonic state, kind of lull you into this utopia of I don't know where I am, where I'm going, or how much time has gone by. All of a sudden
it's like a time warp.
Yeah, look at your watch and 3 hours have passed and you don't know what you've been doing for the last 3 hours. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the ultrasound abilities, the high vocal ranges that are above our human hearing. These are things like the dog whistle frequency and above. And a lot of times when we've been out here, you will hear the cicadas or the frogs go from just a mellow, even sound to going absolutely crazy, and we're not close to them. We're maybe another 50 or 75 yards away from them, but they start sounding off and going crazy. And that's from the ultrasound frequencies that Sasquatch is emitting. The insects and the frogs can hear that, obviously, as can dogs and wolves and coyotes and things like that. A lot of times when you hear the coyotes sounding off, it will be because they're responding to the ultrasound frequencies of a Sasquatch in the area. Well, that's just a cool looking tangle right there, isn't it?
It is. Pretty.
So with that ability to make the ultrasound frequency, they can communicate with and resonate with a lot of animals that we would never suspect.
We've been able to hear. We had one visit out here late, and we could hear their chatter But the frogs were, actually there were two that I remember, and the frogs were started picking up in volume.
They got so loud that you couldn't even hear your own footsteps on the dry leaves, much less hear anything from them.
And you could remotely still hear this chatter going on underneath the sound of the frogs, but the frogs were loud enough you wouldn't have been able to pick apart or delineate anything specifically. But it fascinated me in the way that they worked with that. And they use the sound of water, they use wind, they use, like you said, the cicadas. And I wonder if it has to do with the pitch of their own voice. They pick something that's remotely close to help cover.
Probably. Now, the obvious animals that they'll use in their dietary supplement, the deer and the turkey, the raccoons, the possums, and all of that. When we first started this, almost every day that we came back here, you could kick out a group of does or a couple of bucks that were hanging together. We had wild turkey that were down in here.
Not anymore. Had
raccoon and possum. No, not anymore. It's pretty much cleaned out.
Once in a while we'll see a squirrel.
Very, very seldom, but even the squirrels have kind of disappeared out of here. Listening for... So we're not going to be talking about deer and squirrel and turkey and things like that. This is more in line with animals that they'll utilize and collaborate with, either working for them or against them. And the owls, a lot of times,
absolutely,
you'll hear the owls like a sentinel sounding off. We've sat out here before, and the owl will sound off, and then 5 minutes later you'll hear a whoop or a few whoops or chatter or a vocal, one letting the other know that we're on our way back with the food bucket.
It's interesting too, I've even thought about, we've noticed different birds, and with the different birds we've picked up on the different
Picked up on the different what?
Personalities. And I'm thinking that according to maybe male, female, could be age. I'm still kind of mentally exploring it, that different ones will use different sounds. Like Mama, we correlated her a lot with the owl.
They'll imitate and mimic the sounds of other animals as well. Like we've heard them imitate a very, very bad rendition of an owl.
Very bad.
We've heard, if you can imagine an owl that weighed 800 pounds, that would...
But what I'm thinking is...
We've heard them imitate that long, droned-out sound of a cow.
Yeah. Of course, the crows and ravens, or very big crows.
Well, the crows are going to take up.
They're going to have a whole different.
They're going to take up a good portion of what I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes.
But to finish my thought before I forget, I feel like, or what I was picking up on, like with the owl and Mama, is the others recognize which sounds are kind of key to those individuals. And it's kind of a stealthy way of communicating and not questioning who's who and where.
But if you've had an ongoing interaction like this and you've spent a lot of time out and around them and in the environment where they're at, this is such an obvious thing, and maybe that's why it's not very readily or very often talked about, because most of the stories that you hear are just a one-shot deal, or people passing through an area and have a brief encounter or whatever. But they'll use animal sounds, they'll use short whistles, of course the grunts and the chatter that we've heard on here, and Johnny Cash had a song once upon a time called Dirty Old Egg Sucking Dog. I'm not making that up. Look it up.
Really
Dirty Old Egg Sucking Dog. Which brings us to the crows.
Yes.
We've got one of them out here, and I don't know if it's Junior or Sauvé, but he is addicted to eggs.
It's Junior.
And he will get into a goose nest, a duck nest when they make them around the pond. He'll get into the crow's nests and bird's nests.
We've even picked it up on EVP where he was all excited because there were going to be eggs. And I feel like it was season for something to lay, and he knew it. And he couldn't wait.
Alright, so crows. How many times in all of our videos have you heard the murder of crows screaming in the distance, or even right up on top of us over our heads, or 100 yards away? That's one of the young ones' footprints.
That's Martuk. Yeah, too often.
Primates, humans, crows.
And now they're debating on dolphins,
Now
putting
they're
them all.
debating on dolphins, whales, and possibly elephant. But they have the highest mental skill levels, retention of memory.
Communication.
They can communicate. They have a social structure that if one of them goes against the social structure, they're ostracized and kicked out of the group. They mourn for their dead.
Yes.
Crows are brilliant creatures. They can imitate voice. They can imitate other animals in the woods. They're like the Sasquatch in that regard.
And their memory is unbelievable for faces.
Their facial recognition, if one person, or let's say Junior, Sasquatch, is notorious for grabbing eggs out of a nest, they will remember that facial feature forever. And they will scream bloody murder whenever they see that face.
And they will go to the others and tell them about it.
Tell the young ones in the nest and teach the young ones, and they will remember it forever. Crows live to be, around 20 years old? For what they are a remarkable and amazing creature. But a lot of times you'll hear the crows sound off in different tones and in different patterns. It's facial recognition. We come out here with the bucket and we leave food for everybody.
And they know it.
They know that they're going to get scraps and leftovers. Once Junior and the crew have picked over what they want, there'll be a few crumbs left. Somebody on a comment on the last video asked, well, how do you know it's not raccoons or possums getting into the stuff that you leave? Maybe a year ago that would have been a possibility when there were actually some left, but I think they've all ended up as dinner.
It's something they showed me, or something that I kind of picked up on, is if there is something they don't prefer, they will share. I mean, the elementals, the animals, they're not a greedy hoarding.
Right, they're not gonna be like a dog and just eat every crumb of it to keep another one from getting to it. They're not like that. They're very social and they share.
And these that we work with, the way they showed
We're
it to me,
talking about the Sasquatch, not the crows.
Correct. But the way they showed, they will take the food, and I kind of get the picture of a semicircle where they're kind of gathered together.
And they'll divvy it up.
They divvy it up. They partake of it. It isn't as much about nutrient or food source as it is about a sense of communion, the way that we gift out of gratitude for our friendship.
I hear the owl. See if he'll do it again. Oh man. Always when I'm turning the wrong way. One of them just shot across there.
They're not far. It's probably Tuck. He's getting to be about like Junior was. He'll be right up on us in no time. He'll sneak his way all the way around us.
Alright, back to the train of thought.
Train of thought. they will, in the way that we gift out of gratitude, and it's not as much about food. Lord knows the quantity wouldn't be enough to suffice a meal.
No.
But they understand our intention behind that, and we've
the amount that we bring out here is just a token. It's just
correct.
Something to acknowledge and say
in the same
we appreciate
way
their interaction.
They partake of the food. It would be similar to what we as human beings understand as something like communion, not to equate it to communion exactly, but it's communal in the way that they sit and partake of it and the energy of it and receive the gratitude. Oh, trying not to break a leg here.
I could see that from where I was standing on the other side of the little creek there.
Toward you.
There's a little one's footprint, one there, one right by that piece of...
You may pick up on Mama's here.
Running right up through there.
She's bringing the young ones out more.
But they will divvy it up and have their little social circle, and they leave crumbs and leftovers, like we found seeds out of the cereal bag mix that they'll purposefully leave for the birds and the crows and things like that.
And what I like about that, or what I picked up on that, is that they are spreading the energy here.
Yeah, they're standing right in it, aren't they?
There's one, here's another, here's another.
Yeah, they've been walking
busy
through this spot.
Well, you know, we were gone a few days, so they've probably been traipsing back and forth.
Lurking around the back of the house, wanting to know where the buffet was. I don't know that that's anything at the base of that tree. It just looks unusual to me how it's all pressed down from right here.
Looks like somebody's been sitting, but there's Tuck again. Yeah, Tuck's going to be about like Junior. I think they kind of hang out together, but Tuck's getting pretty independent. But no, it's just what I liked about it was that it was the sense of we gave to them out of gratitude, and they shared it. They share it on past themselves to the animals and the things that assist them out of gratitude. I mean, it just was like a chain. And well, they've really been busy.
Well, I'm glad we've been getting some rain. It'll be easier to see these prints everywhere.
Yeah, I kind of missed that all summer. We caught a few, but...
Welcome back to the Soggy Bottom Saga. But anyway...
It was just neat.
The crows have a facial recognition that is on par with computer software. And they will remember who has done what to them. And since we bring the food out here, they put out one type of sound, and it's like a greeting call. Whenever Junior gets up close, they put out the red alert call, and they'll all start screaming and going ballistic. And it's not because he's going to eat the crows, but he's
going to eat their...
He's got an egg fascination beyond compare.
We've had a couple of videos where it felt like the larger crows were a little interruptive to some of the information from Monku and some of what was going on. They have multiple roles, especially in these environments. They're their own kind of gatekeeper, but it's more...
Yeah. Do the crows work for Sasquatch? No.
No.
Do they work for us? No. They work for themselves. And
pretty much.
Once you figure out what they're talking about, you can pretty much eavesdrop in on what's going on in the rest of the woods.
But I thought it was amazing because they relay everything they know to the rest of the group so that everybody's in on it.
But yes, the Sasquatch utilize them. We utilize them. Many times we've known what was going on farther back just by the way the crows were acting. Mm-hmm. So that's a very good indicator once you learn how to interpret their sounds and the calls that they make.
A lot of people take them as a bad omen, but they really aren't. They're messengers. They, you know, and it's funny because hawk will show up about the same time we start having these larger crows having a fit.
I have something to talk about with the hawk, because on the paranormal end of Sasquatch, I do believe that they can mind connect with them and use them as eyes in the sky. And the hawk will show up within short order whenever something important is going on out here.
And the time that we noticed that the larger crows or ravens were trying to interrupt what was going on, hawk showed up.
Cut back here.
Way over here. Hawk showed up and ran him out. And they're natural enemies to each other.
But when the lady asked if it was a raccoon or a possum that was getting into this, I've never seen them unscrew a sealed peanut butter jar and all of that. I've never seen them open tin cans that had, you know, pop top lids on them.
We've never really shown, I mean, we've periodically have shown like the bags and stuff, but they have a specific tear, and it's a clean tear. It's not, it looks like somebody took a sharp fingernail and ripped it across the bottom of it.
Now make no mistake, there's birds that get into this stuff after the fact, so sometimes you're going to see pecked up or tore up containers, but for the most part they'll open them at the top end, rip the entire top off, well, they like the doll and they like the little Chewbacca stuffed toy. It's gone, but apparently they didn't know what to make out of that plastic box with the Connects toys in it.
They'll figure it out.
Just gonna leave it there for right now and let them have it. But yeah, that's pretty cool though. They did take the stuffed teddy bear and took the little Chewbacca doll.
Maybe Mama picked them up for the babies, or
so since it's the cooler time of the year and nothing is laying eggs out here now, we brought him some eggs, so he'll appreciate that.
at least they didn't dump the bucket this time.
He's got it all going on today. There's 3 eggs for him. Maybe that'll keep him pacified for a minute. I would lay them right on top of that Connects box for now, because if they fall down out of there, it's a game over. He'll be licking the bag.
Yeah.
And each one's got a sardine with horseradish and mustard and pepper jack. There's the crow.
See, that's not defensive. That's letting everybody know that
That's the
food
greeting.
training.
That's the greeting sound. Another thing that, yeah, now he's telling all the rest of them the food truck has arrived. I guarantee you within a few minutes somebody's going to whoop, knock, clack, bang, bark, or something. But they've got their popcorn, they've got their Cheerios, got sardines with horseradish mustard and pepper jack cheese,
Oh boy.
eggs, cereal bag. Thought I'd try that
Pomegranate.
pomegranate.
This ought to be interesting. Let's see if I can find a spot.
We had brought oranges out here once before and they really didn't seem to care for them, but I did bring 1 tangerine to leave up here at this one today. We'll see if they like it any better. And of course there's a bunch of apples down in there.
I don't know who put this in here, but
I don't don't know that you have to decorate it up like a Christmas tree anymore. I just put it all around there and let them have at it. But
yeah, it doesn't take them long. Oh Lord.
Junior's gonna love those. Those are spicy hot Doritos.
That's what I was just thinking. I am not following him through the woods though.
Don't leave him a book of matches. He'll be lighting them all the way through the woods and burn the woods down.
Alright, I'm gonna put this at the other. I think that was it.
There he is. Let's see if he'll do it
Somebody
again.
up here on the hill too.
Yeah. Alright, so anyway, he's got the full meal deal going on. He's got hot and spicy Doritos, pomegranate cereal, eggs, popcorn, peanut butter, apples, Cheerios, sardine sandwich, horseradish, and pepper jack.
He better share.
We'll find out. Crows are found on every continent that humans inhabit. The only place they're not found is in Antarctica. And some places they've even learned how to use and make tools to get at bugs and grubs and other things.
Little pieces of food.
They'll remember colors for their lifetime and faces and what's been done to them.
They say they are actually very reflective of people in the way that they think and analyze. And a lot of people just...
It's kind of like the Sasquatch, kind of like even black bear in that regard. They're omnivores. They can think and remember where they've found food for years and years and years after the fact, and they'll go back to recheck to make sure that there's not another crumb left. And
they actually don't have the biggest of the bird brains, so to speak. Parrots do. But their thinkability, and they think it's the way that they're brought up and fed and so on.
Well, their brain in relation to their body size is pretty much on par with the apes, the chimps, and all of that. And
it's just pretty cool. It gave me a new respect for crows.
But for those of you that are trying to, have a habituation site or have areas where it's possible to have interactions and stuff, learn the language and the actions and reactions of the crows, because it will be very beneficial for you.
And the owls and the hawks. And
crows primarily, but the rest of them as well. Hear it?
I do.
That's an 800-pound owl. There. Way off back there, probably a good 200 yards back. The consistently over this last year, we have mentioned and talked about frequencies and resonance and vibration and tones and how they relate to the energy of the space or help create an energy of the space. And they utilize those same types of things with the other animals in their environment. We've dropped and given hints time and time again as to how they operate and function, these portal points out here. And it all comes down to tones, vibrations, and frequencies.
I've had people ask me if they could shapeshift, and I'm not convinced that they can't, but at least for these, I feel like they befriend or use, the energies of what's already here versus...
Well, I absolutely know that they use different things for their spies, the hawks and the fox, and of course some parts of the country they don't have any fox. But
and I know it sounds really challenging for some people to, like you were saying, them being able to see through the eyes of the hawk. Something I experienced with Anku once, maybe
when you mind connect
twice.
In that mind speak,
Yes.
They can see what you see and hear what you hear, and to an extent feel very deeply what you're feeling that moment.
And one of the things in that one heart and that one mind that he was showing me, there were times I was getting visual of what he was seeing, and I didn't completely understand it at first, but as I explored it, I realized all of a sudden that in sharing that bond, it was something that came with it unexpectedly in being able to see through his eyes. But not just that, I feel like he can see through mine sometimes, or as needed. Maybe that's a better way to put it, because it's not, and it's not.
Oh, well, that's just great. So
I know it sounds. I knew where you were going.
Now he sees my plumber's crack when I'm fixing the sink. Huh?
Well, I don't think he's as impressed or depressed either way about it.
That could be depressing, I guess.
And it's not an invasive thing. That's what's so surprising with it, is it's not all the time, and it's not, anything damaging or overpowering or any of these crazy things. It's just that bond enables it.
People in general want so hard to believe that they are these evil monsters, that they're demons or Nephilims and all this crazy horse apple crapple, and that is the farthest thing from the truth. There's big money in promoting fear. Gets views, gets clicks, gets paid for the advertisement. That's the primary reason behind it. Is it the truth? No. Motivation is the money. Period. End of story.
When we first started, there were a couple things that made us jump, but honestly, there was nothing harmful done to us. It was just the surprise of what we were meeting and experiencing.
I don't care what it is, if it's a Sasquatch or even, I've been walking down fence rows before and had a covey of quail bust out right in front of me and not even thinking about it, and that'll startle you.
Sounds like a helicopter.
When you hear the thunder wings take off in front of your face, it'll startle you.
But it isn't that they've done anything to us. We've stepped into their world.
You see something jump up in front of you and bust out of the brush, it will startle you when it's the last thing on your mind that you're focused on.
But honestly, and I know it's going to make people mad to hear us say it, but our experience, particularly 95+% of what we have experienced has been funny or awe-inspiring.
They've got a sense of humor that's beyond most anything you could imagine. A sick, twisted sense of humor.
And maybe that's why we get along. I don't know.
Like a bunch of punk 14-year-old kids in high school pulling pranks on you.
But their hearts are huge. And I've had a couple of incidents where, oh, look at the mess we made back here.
Yeah.
A couple of incidents where I actually asked if Mama could help realign my energy fields, because especially working with Anji and some of the elementals, you know, it was a lot. Okay. Get some of this real quick. I don't know where they're taking the popcorn, but I have not found a popcorn bag in
I don't know if he just eats it like a peanut shell, the bag and all, or what they do, but
I think they just sat in a circle around here.
but no, it's just, you know, the times that we live in, people would rather buy into the hype and the drama and the fear and the BS than they would to know just the simplicity and the basic truth of anything.
I'm sure if somebody was trying to hurt him, they could do what they had to do, but
No, don't ever kid yourself. If you threatened one, or if they felt something that they cared for was being threatened, they'd be full on King Kong. But in a lot of ways, it's just like people. You get back what you put in. If you treat them horribly, you're going to get that in return. I'm going to walk over here for a minute while you're doing that. Now, I'm sure they're anxious to get at it because we've been gone for a few days, so let's go bang the dinner bell and leave them to it.
I hear it.
Yeah, can you hear it?
Oh, come on. That's not Mama, that's a different one. Wonder if that's our penis.
Talking up a storm back there.
Somebody's been having a party over here.
I think one of them took a running jump into it. on the back side of it here.
That's what I was trying to decide, if they were wrestling around and hit it, or if the little ones have been playing on it. It's a mess.
Well, there's the train. It's dinner time. Well, come on and get it. Alright guys, so we appreciate you tagging along with us today. I hope you learned a little bit of useful information. Keep an ear out for the crows. They can teach you a bunch. We'll catch you next time down the trail. Thanks.